Marcus, I'm going to let you lead, man, on, hey, everyone, welcome.
All right.
Whatever you think on this
All
podcast.
right. We got two different topics today. I don't know which one we really want to start.
It's Mark and the Fan Podcast.
If he returns, Randy Orton.
Hosted by the militant Mark Magnum and the Cisco Kid.
Triple H is still the main man creative.
For now. All right, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the first episode of the Mark and the Fan Wrestling Podcast. I'm Mark Magnum, for some of y'all that might know who I am. And my partner over here, Chris.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Great to be here with you, Mark. This is the Cisco Kid, Chris Cloyd, and we're going to talk some of that old wrestling there.
Yeah, we're going to have fun tonight.
We're going to have fun.
Yes, indeed. I mean, this is our first time meeting each other. So,
yeah.
You know, I mean, we've been kind of corresponding online and whatnot, trying to get this all together. But how do we know each other? How's this going to work out?
Well, we're just super fans, man, and our boy Darius, you know, he got us together, and
yeah,
he's seen we got two visionaries that loves the sport, and
definitely.
I think it's going to be real good.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, what got you into wrestling?
Yeah,
how long you been watching?
I've been watching since the first one I remember was a replay of WrestleMania 3 in the Pontiac Silverdome. A Fox had just started. There was an affiliate in a small town in Missouri, and yeah, they were replaying WrestleMania 3.
Yeah,
and so since 1987, pretty much religiously.
Gotcha.
What about you, Marcus?
I remember it was for me. I think it was the build up to WrestleMania 1 when
Awesome.
like Paul Orndorff turned on Hogan and went with Orndorff, and he went with Orton and Piper. That was my first memories. I mean, my whole family, I mean, my uncles, my dad, me, my kids, like we're a wrestling family to where that's what I've known my entire life.
Good.
I mean, I'm 42 years old and a good 40 years of it.
Yeah.
Good 40 or 38 years of it.
38 years.
Something
yeah,
like
that's
that.
Good.
And I mean, I spent 12 years wrestling myself. So, I mean, I definitely love this business. So I'm happy that we got a chance to do this.
Yeah, I noticed what on our Facebook deals with Chris Ledbetter, Sergeant Ledbetter.
Yes,
Did you wrestle with him? And
Yeah, him,
Okay.
Big T. Yeah, I've worked at LSC
T.
many. Yeah, I've worked at LSC many shows.
Okay.
And great people, good guys. I mean, they always treated me right.
Yeah.
I don't have a bad word to say about Ledbetter or anybody from that company.
Yeah, that's cool. I came from Missouri in 1996. My dad's job, he got transferred up here to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So I was originally from Missouri. Didn't have a whole lot of heroes from Missouri. What's your finish, kid? Harley Race. He's from Missouri.
Yeah.
Top 5, easily toughest badass all time. Perhaps top 3. I don't know. We know Haku. Haku's the man.
Yeah, Haku. I mean, when I've watched plenty of shoot interviews and stuff of that nature where some people say Haku. Yeah. Some people say Harley Race. I'd like to think I'm a tough guy, but I'd think I'd stay away from both if it was my personal. Especially Haku. I mean, when he's talking about ripping people's noses off.
Yeah, biting noses and throats out.
Yeah, I like my nose where it's at.
He's in my personal opinion, I would mess with young Brock before old Haku. Neither one's good. I'm going to lose.
I'm thinking, man, well, you trying to get hurt seriously, ain't you, man?
Yeah, right. But man, that's that Haku deal. But the Missouri thing, man, I came up in '96, and buddy, there was 4 of us wrestling fans. There was, as in no particular order, Justin McConnell, Ron Howard, not Opie from
I'm thinking for
not
real?
the action director, but called him Fat Ron. God bless him, Ron. Still with us, Chad Kirby, and a young man by the name of Chris Ledbetter. And so when I moved up to Lebanon, Ohio, they were all a year older than me.
Yeah.
They were seniors, I was junior, and we just meshed. And yeah, we stayed friends for the most part. Still friends with Chris and Ron to this day, and Justin.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah, I
small world, man.
Yeah, it is.
Small world,
It is.
definitely, man. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But that wrestling, man, that glued us together. And at that time, you're talking 97, 98. I mean, Austin's just getting ready to come out of the shoot there. I believe in 97.
Yeah, because he won the King of the Ring in 96. Yeah, so that was like the start of the whole Austin era coming into play. Yeah, definitely.
And the NWO before, I mean, it was super thrilling, in my opinion, in the beginning to see, okay, who's the next WWF guy to come over?
Yeah.
And what's your thoughts on that, Marcus? I thought that the NWO fell short once they acquired a WCW guy, hence the Big Show. I didn't like that one bit. I understand why they got him, but I think it kind of took the steam off that, okay, who's that next WWF guy coming on?
I mean, in a way, this kind of goes into our topic of tribalism. But to answer your question, at that time, because I was, I think, 17, 18 at that time, I remember just thinking this was a changing of the tide, because for a long time we had saw, Hall, Nash, Hogan, Savage, you name it. A lot of the big stars from the golden era in the 80s and not so much Hall and Nash, I guess, but they were more of the 90s. But I'm just saying a lot of their key guys from that time went from WWE to WCW. And it was like, what's going on here? Because like you, I'm a wrestling fan, but I like to call myself a WWE loyalist. Not to the degree where I'm going to, I understand that there's other wrestling and stuff like that. But to me, growing up, I watched NWA as a kid growing up. I watched WCW when it changed over after Crockett sold it to Turner. And, I've watched AWA and all this stuff, GWF, you name all the old school stuff from back in the day in the 80s, I watched it.
Oh, yeah.
But when Saturday Night's Main Event was on, or, when Saturday Morning Superstars or Sunday morning, whatever, All American Wrestling, whatever it was, that was on. In my house, religiously.
Yeah.
Power Hour on NWA 605, all that stuff. Well, we watched it all but at the end of the day, you can say what you want about different styles and the Memphis style, or, the WWE style, or, there's all different kinds of the strong style in Japan, and there's all different kinds of styles. You got lucha and whatnot. But for me, I liked the WWE style more, and I found myself liking that more. But then again, I was a kid. Back in those days, it was more cartoony.
Right.
To where, the colors were vibrant, and, it drew your eye to it, as opposed to a dingier TBS studio where... Not to say there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But just from the contrast of guys wearing more pastel colors and weren't as vibrant, and then you got the Ultimate Warrior, Hogan, you got Macho Man, you got a lot of these guys, Rick Rude, a lot of these guys from back in the day where, their gear stood out. And for me as a kid, that's what drew me. Maybe not so much the wrestling. It was just the appearance, the presentation. And that goes, like I was saying, into our conversation about tribalism and about why, because I'm online and like I said, for me being a former wrestler, I kind of keep my eye and my ear to the ground, so to speak, and kind of keep the going on of what's going on in wrestling. And it just seems like there's a divide, and there's a divide with AEW and WWE where some fans watch one or the other. And it's the same as it was back in the day when it was Nitro versus Raw.
Right.
You were either one that watched this, one that watched that. I was one that watched both. I would watch Raw live, and then Nitro would always have the replay right after. I would watch both. Now, did I like one over the other? Of course, I watched Raw live.
Right.
But it wasn't to the fact of, if you watch WCW, you're an idiot, or if you watch WWF at the time, you're an idiot. It's like, dude, it's wrestling. Like, be happy. Just like now, be happy there's more options out there.
Yeah.
Well,
I was part of that that banner you was discussing because, I had heat with WCW announcer Tony Schiavone.
Really?
And it wasn't his fault that they were beating Vince in the ratings for 83 weeks.
Right.
I had had a real derogatory sign at a Raw taping. You might have been there, Marcus, in I think at the Gardens.
Yeah, probably was.
The summer of '97 when Austin stunned Slaughter.
I was there that night. Yes, I was. Me and my one friend David Koosman. Yes, yeah.
And buddy, I got to. It's on the network, but you can pause and I got a big sign that says WCW fears Vince. And then when you flipped around, it said Tony Schiavone is a beep, and it's like,
see, now I'm about to go back.
It's not
you
Tony's
just gave me
fault.
an assignment. You just gave. Now I'm about to go back and find that.
Yeah, we'll check it out sometime. But yeah, man. But here it is. I'm making fun of Tony Schiavone.
Yeah,
and he's the guy that worked for Vince in 90, 91 or 89.
It was the late 80s and maybe into the beginning of 90s, yeah.
And Lois, God bless her, his wife, said, you got to get back home. I can't have you in Connecticut.
Right.
So I had to get back closer to Georgia. And so that was it. But yeah, so I thought WCW was the enemy.
I mean, and see, this is why we're having this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that there's people out here that just can't be happy that because there's Ring of Honor? I mean, well, I guess kind of Ring of Honor with AEW right now. They've got the name still, but I mean, you've got Impact, you've got WWE, you've got AEW, you've got anything in CMLL, AAA. I mean, there's all kinds of options, and it's like, some are better than others. I get that. But it's like there's like an online coalition of people that just troll other people just because you like one over the other. And it's like, why? Like, it's like the argument over Marvel and, like DC. It's just like, why? Like, it's all good stuff. Yeah. Like, I don't understand the tribalism.
I don't know, but I'm guilty of it.
Oh, I've been guilty of it too in my life, but it's just like, come on, like I'm not going to actively argue with somebody about my love for WWE or a wrestler or like, really?
Yeah.
Like when they do stuff that makes the news, if somebody has an opinion on that, fine, whatever.
Right.
But when it comes to, I don't like this company because of this, or I don't like this company because of that, it's like, or because I like AEW more, so WWE sucks, or I like WWE, like, really? Like,
like, I don't know why it is, but like I said, I find myself guilty of that because AEW, I mean, do you know a little bit about Comrade Thompson?
Yeah.
And his podcast.
Yeah.
And it seems like, a lot of his fans and plugged to their show, Something to Wrestle With, 83 Weeks, and various others. They're big time. It seems like AEW fans and not so much WWE, and they're always on Bruce all the time.
Yeah,
and
that's because sometimes Bruce exaggerates the truth.
Well, that's true.
But I mean, he sometimes he likes to spin the narrative and retell history on the WWE's behalf. So,
but. I'll be honest with you. Me being a WWE fan, Dusty wasn't on my level of a Hulk Hogan. I look back now, okay, he's up there also.
Oh yeah,
because I didn't watch a lot of the NWA. I knew they were super popular, and like we mentioned earlier, the WWE was more cartoonish.
Yeah,
and but I was like you. I like those colors. Mm-hmm. And I like the music, the theme songs.
Yeah, Jim Johnson was a beast.
Oh, Jim Johnson
he was a beast.
Was so good.
Some of the music he made, even in the Attitude Era, some of the music.
Oh,
it was awesome.
It's outstanding. And somebody asked me one time, why didn't the Warrior work in WCW? And I said, well, even if he was 10 years younger. Listen to his intro, the theme, the soundtrack. That dun 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 dun.
You knew what was happening.
You knew it.
You knew.
It.
Yeah.
And Hogan. Some folks will argue, well, Hogan's WCW song wasn't bad. Yes, but it's not. I am a real man. And everything that WWF did, and I hate giving Kevin Dunn a cheap plug, but all that stuff is just, it's just money. It's fire.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I guess the tribalism question is maybe we were rooted with it young, like this is our brand. In our case, it was WWF, WWE. And I didn't have time for NWA, probably the better wrestlers.
Right.
I don't know. Do you feel the same, Marcus?
Well, I mean, for me, I can speak on it from a local independent level. Mm-hmm. Like I worked for plenty of independent companies throughout this state and others.
Yeah.
And especially in this, when I say this, I don't want to make it sound like it's like Ohio's terrible for this. I'm just saying in general, when you get into an area where you work for a company, there's a lot of other companies that are in the surrounding area that hate on you.
Gotcha.
Or that hate, that company because they're close to your market. They're close to your fans. Yeah. They might steal some of your fans and get them to, I get some of that. But when I wrestled, there was a lot of just, we hate this company because they're closer. They're using some of our guys. And I get all that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was guys that were actively trying to shut down shows, calling the athletic board, stuff like that, towards like, this is what I'm talking about when I say tribalism, where it's just like there was people actively trying to shut stuff down.
Yeah.
And it may not be the same on the same level with AEW and WWE or, even back in the Attitude Era during the Monday Night Wars and stuff. But it's one of those things where even at that level, even at the small independent level where it's just, guys working for a handshake and a smile.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I don't understand that disconnect where, okay, this company over here is doing good. They're local.
Right.
And this company over here about 20 miles away is doing good. They're local. Okay, that's great. Instead of trying to shut the other one down because they're competition, obviously you've got a market in between that 40-mile span.
Yeah.
That you can maybe have a super show and come together.
Exactly.
And have a showcase of your best talent from this company and your best talent from that company. And I know we'll never see that mainstream. Like in WWE, we're not going to see AEW stars and WWE stars. I mean, I could be wrong.
Right.
But I don't think I'm ever going to see AEW guys and WWE guys working together on the same show on pay-per-view or premium live events, whatever, and making that work because it's, I don't want to say it's toxic, but egos get involved. And like I said, as a guy that's done this for a while, egos can kill a business,
right,
or kill a town, so to speak. Well,
it's like what was them big shows there in the late '80s when Vince had ran everybody out of town. AWA joined with I think it's Memphis, CWF or USWA.
USWA, yeah.
And they couldn't. All the bookers couldn't even figure out who's going to go over. And it was just a flop.
Yeah, because nobody wants to lose.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if you've got one of your top guys going against one of their top guys, it's like, and the promoters might actually agree on, all right, this guy needs to lose here. But the two wrestlers might be like, I ain't putting him over.
Yeah.
And the other guy, I ain't putting him over. That was the same thing with Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart.
Yeah.
I mean, Bret told Shawn, I'll put you over. And Shawn was like,
I wouldn't do the same for you, brother.
I'm glad you feel that way, but I wouldn't do that. Like, and that's real. That's real. That's real.
Right.
There's guys I wrestled, didn't want to put them over.
Yeah.
But I did because that's the business.
Yeah, right.
You're supposed to. But when you've got a situation where it's two separate companies and you've got to make all these egos stay in check, it's not going to happen.
Right.
And that's why we haven't seen these two. I mean, it's hard enough to get guys that work for the same company sometimes.
Exactly.
To put somebody over, let alone this is a rival company that's trying to steal our ratings.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going. I just don't see that ever happening. I think it'd be awesome if it did.
Right.
I mean, I know we've seen that with New Japan with the Forbidden Door pay-per-view where they kind of work together, but Tony Khan has had a working relationship with them for a while, so that makes more sense. But to have two of the North America's biggest companies, come together and have a super, I don't think that'll ever happen. It would be great. It would be a massive money draw. Yeah, and I think it's money both companies are going to leave on the table just because. With Triple H running the show now, he's not going to swallow his pride because I think he's a little hurt from him losing the 2 Wednesday night wars.
Yeah, right.
And all that. So I don't think he'll ever work with Tony Khan. And I know Tony Khan's left that door open. Like, hey, I'd love to, if we could work something out, but come on.
I knew he did with Vince. I didn't know that as he currently with Paul.
Yeah. And I just don't see that happening. I just don't. And it makes sense. I get it. They're competition. But, I mean, it's not like you see, Budweiser and Coors doing cross-promotional stuff. So I get it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when it's this kind of business, I mean, you can't.
Us fans would love it, though, wouldn't we, Marcus?
Yeah, I know I would, and I know you would, Chris. I mean, it's like, I don't get it.
I know we was talking earlier about entrance themes and everything. Here I am, part of that tribalism, thinking AEW is here. But the one thing Tony Khan did that I was like, no, wait a minute. This is something here, is the return of CM Punk.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend, she's like, hey, look at this. And I'm in the back room and I hear Cult of Personality, The Living Color. And I'm like, did CM Punk just return back to WWE? I was about to sports
because of the music, yeah.
And I walk in and it's a big venue. I'm like, but this ain't WWE. I'm like, oh my gosh, Tony Khan was that smart. He bought the rights to that song, just like Baltimore's Tarzan Boy.
Yeah.
And many other examples. But I'm like, this is why the WWE was beating competitors in the past. I'd say ECW. Yeah. ECW do use some real good music. Granted, Paul didn't get licensed for it.
Right.
But I'm like, now this is making a statement.
Yeah.
That's the song that goes with CM Punk. Man, what if they did this for these others? Man, that was brilliant, buddy.
Well, I mean, that was one of those things when Vince was still in charge. He hated paying for music.
He hated
even when Punk did get that finally, that was part of his new contract. I mean, like, that's one of those things. And I mean, I know a lot of people think this guy's divisive, but I know that's what some of the things that Jim Cornette talks about.
Yep.
Is like, why can't you just play music that we all know?
Damn, we got to go back to old school.
I mean, it's
wrestling.
no different. It's no different than like Chris Jericho's Judas song.
Yeah. Right.
It's a mainstream song enough to where the fans, he's a heel. And the fan, it's kind of like Seth Rollins. Where
Marcus,
even
Seth
though
Rollins.
He's a heel.
There you go. You already hit it.
Like all that. Like even though he's a heel, but these people know the song and they'll sing the song. Yeah. No different than when CM Punk would come out. And I mean, since we're talking about Punk, what's your thoughts on the whole brawl that happened at AEW when he had the press conference and all that? What's your thoughts on it? I have my thoughts, but I want you to answer first.
Man,
do you think he was right, Punk? Because there's I'll help you here. There's one side that thinks that Punk's in the wrong because of how he did it. Yeah, because of how he did it during the press conference, and I get that argument. And then there's some that say that the Young Bucks are unprofessional, blah, blah, blah. So where do you fall on it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Chris, man, it seems like you're a little stumped, or I don't know. I think you might have mentioned earlier that you hadn't really seen the press conference.
Yeah.
All right. I'll give you my opinion on what happened. Mm-hmm. I think because CM Punk's an old school type of guy, I think that he went into that company trying to better. I know CM Punk's a very divisive topic right now. Some people hate him. Some people love him. The first match he came back and wrestled Darby Allin, that was the only AEW pay-per-view I ever bought because it was him. And I wanted to see at his age, and not that he's that old, but to see after being gone for 7 years what he could do.
Right.
Went in there, everything he did, he killed it. Everything he did, he killed it. His program with MJF, epic. So he did his part. $1 Million Gates, the ratings when he was on those shows, I know that wasn't all on him, obviously, but it was a good portion of it. But the press conference, he said a lot of things, and I know there was already a thing that had happened between him and Hangman Adam Page, where Adam Page had kind of called him out live on television in a promo that wasn't really supposed to happen, and said some things. And I think that ate at Punk. He beat Moxley at the last pay-per-view and injured himself during that pay-per-view to where I don't know if it was just one of those things he just pushed all his chips to the center of the table and just laid all his grievances out at that press conference, because that's what it appears like, because I watched the entire press conference, and that's what it seemed like to me, a guy that, because for me, I've been in locker rooms, And like guys like Adam Page have that attitude that I don't need to learn anything from you.
Right.
And I started wrestling when I was 29.
Okay.
And when I was trained, that was the last thing you should say at a show. Is I don't need it. I mean, one of my first shows I ever worked, I was on a show with Jake the Snake Roberts.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So I mean, like, are you telling me if I worked that show, one of my first shows I ever worked in my life, and if Jake was to give me advice, oh, dude, I'm good. I don't need your. I mean, to me, I can understand Punk's angst and anger towards that because it's like, dude, I've climbed mountains you haven't even attempted to even start climbing yet.
Right.
And I'm trying to help you, this company, and us maybe topple WWE.
Yeah.
Not that I think that's going to happen, but I mean, that's that should be the thought process going into this, right?
Right.
So when you've got guys that don't want to listen or think they know it all from the start, I would think that this conversation has probably already been had. I don't know, obviously, but I would think CM Punk's, hey guys, this is what you guys need to be doing out there. Tighten up your stuff, make stuff make more sense, sell better, whatever the topic is. And when you've got guys that are clowning around or don't want to listen, and here you are, the serious guy, the champion of the company, no less, the face of the company. I mean, do I agree with what he did? Not necessarily, no. I mean, I can understand his anger.
Right.
But at the same time, the way he handled it, no, I don't agree. But do I agree with the Young Bucks coming into his dressing room when you obviously seen the press conference or heard what he said for you to go into his locker room? So when he's sitting there during the press conference saying, if you got a problem with me, come find me or come at me or whatever he said, you would think that's probably not the good time to come see him.
Exactly.
And keep in mind the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega are executives in the company.
That's right.
They're office holders. They have titles. They're not just one of the boys. I mean, they are, but they're also executives.
Right.
So they should have treaded more lightly. So my opinion is both are wrong. Punk's wrong for the way he handled it. Tony Khan's wrong for just letting him do it.
Yeah.
Because like we talked about before we started, like he was nodding his head on some of what, so to where it's like maybe he was just doing it subconsciously, not realizing, but it's like, dude, on camera, it looked like you're agreeing with the guy.
Right.
And now you've had the big investigation and it looks like the Bucks and everybody that was involved is coming back, but Punk. So for me, there's this tribalism. There's a tribe of fans that are on CM Punk's side.
Yeah.
There's a group of fans that are on the Buck and Omega side. And I can get both sides because Punk was unprofessional with how he handled it.
Right.
Like, you just talked a whole lot of mess about the company. You just talked a whole lot of shit about the company.
Oh, yeah.
In front of a whole lot of wrestling media. And you think that's not going to get out? I mean, obviously it was already being shown to the world anyway. But you think the dirt sheets and a lot of these wrestling journalists, because I'm going to put that in air quotes, like that'll go out and they make money off of this stuff and profit off of the craziness in wrestling. This was one of those things.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why Punk got to that point in the aspect of you should have been able to talk to Tony Khan about this behind closed doors and not make this public. But then again, if I'm an executive in the company like the Bucks or Omega, you can't be confronting other wrestlers like you're not one of the boys.
Right.
You're an executive. It'd be like Triple H trying, any executive. You go to any Fortune 500 company, you can't just assault or attempt to assault or confront the way no, that's not how it works. And if you're an executive, that's how it's supposed to go. But, it's water under the bridge now. I guess it's, now I don't want to say old news, but I mean, and now there's that camp of people that think CM Punk might end up back in WWE. I personally don't think so. I think there's been too much garbage to go down.
I think his heat with Paul is probably the same or worse than Vince even.
Which Paul? Triple H?
Yeah, Triple H.
Yeah. I mean, when you tell a guy that I don't need to work with you, you need to work with me.
Yeah.
That's basically, I mean, but then again, Triple H is a businessman still. And there's a lot of people that are WWE fans that don't watch AEW. You can see it by the ratings.
Right.
You can see that Raw might get, 1.5 million people to watch Raw, and AEW sometimes gets 1 million. And I'm not even trying to insult them. I'm just saying I can just look by what wrestling fans are out there. Not every wrestling fan's watching them.
Right.
So if I'm Triple H, I'm thinking some fans may not even know what went down at AEW.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I mean, they might have heard that CM Punk came back, blah, 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 but they may not know every single thing because I know you're not as familiar with AEW.
Well, correct. Yeah.
And it goes back to our whole conversation about tribalism.
Yeah.
Because some people watch one over the other. But this could work out for Triple H money-wise because a lot of people may not have saw a damn match that CM Punk had in AEW.
Yeah.
And might be like, hey, CM Punk's back in WWE. And
yeah.
But I don't think he'll do it.
No, I don't think so either. The only stuff I watched over there with him was him and MJF. I loved their promos against one another.
Yeah.
He called MJF "you nothing but a dollar store Miz," I believe.
Yeah.
That was good stuff.
I mean, yeah, I love
Referencing the other
MJF.
company.
He's one of the main reasons
good.
I still even attempt to try to watch AEW because he's one of those heels that lives it.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys, I guarantee you, if you met him out in public, he's in character.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or maybe not even in character, it might be who he is.
Yeah. I think he's a prick in real life.
Yeah, and that works.
That works. That's
because
money
when you
right
go
there.
to autograph signings and he's all nice and how you doing, that's not the MJF I see on TV. I mean, I was trained by a guy named Kamala Jr. when I first started, and he told me a story once where he saw fans at a grocery store.
Okay.
And these fans recognized him, obviously, knew who he was. Instead of him being the normal person that he is, he played the gimmick, acted like he couldn't speak English.
Gotcha.
That people helped him with his money, stuff like that, to where it's just like, but he was more old school. He's an older guy.
Yeah.
Where he was more old school. He protected the business.
Right.
In the regards of he didn't, I'm normal, Kamala Jr. I'm like, nothing to see here, even though you just saw me last night and I'm a savage that, wears a big mask and got paint and he still played that character, even though he wasn't in gimmick, even though he wasn't wearing his gear, but the fans knew who he was.
Yeah.
To where he played that. And I think MJF's the same way, to where if you met him in public at a gas station, at a supermarket, at a car wash, he's going to be the same prick you see on TV.
Be the same. Yeah.
And I love that about him because he's one of the last, other than like Roman,
Yeah.
he's one of the last true superstars.
Yep. Absolutely.
That is like up and coming right now. Not to say Roman's up and coming, but just one of those guys that when they're on the screen, or when they're speaking,
you gotta watch.
or when they're wrestling, you better be watching because you're missing something important.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's not the same for all guys, but
Yeah.
there's always those guys. Even back in the Attitude Era, it was Austin, Rock. I mean, there was a lot more, I think, back then because I think that as this is more about WWE, but I think they did a better job back then of creating new stars.
Yeah.
Right now, they're hit or miss. I mean, even the stuff they just did with Austin Theory, like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like.
I felt they buried him this week.
I mean, I think on that one, I think that's more of a reprogramming.
Okay.
Because, I mean, you got to think Triple H took over after he already had Money in the Bank. And it's like, if they're really trying to push this Rock versus Roman match at WrestleMania for the title.
Yeah. 39 in LA, everybody.
Is Austin
100,000's already sold out.
Yeah. Like, do you really think that Austin Theory should beat Roman?
No.
No. And that's my point. Like, he was putting The Rock in a hard spot when he took over.
Yeah.
So for me, it would be if I'm running the show, I mean, I wouldn't have had him cash in on the United States champion. I'd have had him cash in on Roman.
Yeah, right.
And have Roman just beat him.
Yeah.
Maybe a decent little 5-minute, whatever the hell.
Smodge.
Should have done it at Crown Jewel, probably.
Yeah.
Something like that, where now it's off him. But you had him, I mean, because I'm sorry, I'm a former wrestler. I would think to myself, especially because keep in mind, there was 2 open challenges that night.
Yeah.
For Austin Theory that he could have answered. Plus, Austin Theory is one of those guys that he was just a United States champion. Why would you cash in a briefcase for a title you just was 2 champions ago? Like, because Bobby beat him.
Right.
And he was so it's just like, if I'm the guy that has the briefcase, the last thing I'm doing is cashing in on what they call a mid-card title.
Yeah.
I want the big gold belt.
I want the big one.
Yeah, I want the big one. That's what everybody, I mean, as a kid, I'm sure you were just like me, like dreaming of WrestleMania and winning the big, like, just like Shawn Michaels and a lot of guys.
Oh,
like, that was the dream. Not, I mean, yeah, there are certain titles I liked. I do like the Intercontinental title and stuff like that, of course. But I mean, even just working a regular job, I don't want to be the lowest person on the totem pole.
Got to be the top.
I want to be the guy running the show, or if not, close to it.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I didn't get that, but I understand Triple H's position. He was in a rock and a hard spot on that. Because what do you do? He's not going to win the title.
Right.
So you got to find a way to get the belt off him, and Roman's not always there right now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to make that happen. I mean, I think they've had a couple different opportunities where it should have happened and just got it off of him and then just build him back up. Yeah. Because he's 25. I think the kid will be gold. I love his in-ring work.
He's good.
The kid's solid.
He's good. I know why Vince, that was his chosen one.
Oh, yeah. Good-looking kid.
Good-looking.
Built.
Yeah.
Like powerhouse looking. Compact.
So
he can
good.
fly. He does a lot of the stuff that a lot of guys his size don't do.
He looks like that punk that tried bullying people in school. It's easy to hate him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, he's got a slappable face.
Oh, yeah.
He's definitely
got a face someone mother loved.
Yeah. He's kind of like Sammy Guevara in AEW.
Same deal.
He's just one of those guys that, like, dude, I don't like you. Just like MJF.
Yeah, same thing.
I mean, there's things about MJF that I like.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of his promos are gold.
Oh,
Like, a lot of the promos I cut when I wrestled were great, but I don't hold a candle.
Yeah.
This man, I would not want to be in the same ring with this guy if he was about to cut me up in front of a room full of people. Like, I would not want to be a part of that. And that's what I love about guys like him, because they make you still believe.
Right.
Because when I wrestled, I always thought that, like, wrestling was a magic show.
Yeah.
Like, we all know magic's fake.
Yeah.
And at this point, because of Vince McMahon, everybody knows that wrestling's fake.
Right.
But when I wrestled, my thing was always to make people believe. Yeah, you might have not, you may not have believed the last 2 matches you just saw.
Yeah.
You're going to believe Mark Magnum.
Right.
You're going to believe the performance I put in, because I'm not going to be one of these guys that mail in. Or I have psychology. I will sell. I will do what I need to do to make you believe, man, he's hurt. Yeah. Or for the most of the part of my career, I was a heel. So I did my part to make you hate me.
Right.
I did my part to make you not like me. So, like, there's that give and take there. But back to our conversation of tribalism, I don't understand nowadays why everything's become that toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where you have just people, like, online arguing like somebody did something to a family member. Like, it's just wrestling. Yeah. Just no different than TV or a good book or anything else. Like, everybody has their own taste, but I shouldn't jump on you because, oh, you like this better than that?
Right.
You're an idiot. Or, I like this better, so you should be watching this too. No, maybe they're
both good, ain't it?
Yeah, we should all, because I mean, for the last 20 years.
Yeah, since what, 03?
Oh, 2001, I think.
Or one.
Like, there was no real major wrestling company. I mean, you want to say Impact.
Yeah, TNA,
you want to say ROH. I mean, I guess. But I mean, nobody was on the scale of WWE.
Yeah.
Now you got Tony Khan, who's got a billionaire's money. And I think he's making some mistakes with a lot of his guys because there's no direction. But you can say the same thing for WWE. I mean, what's the direction for Austin Theory now? What's the direction for a lot of guys right now? What's the direction for Mustafa Ali? What's the direction for? I mean, we could sit there for 45 minutes just rifling off names. But it's like there's a lot of things. I think if I was Tony Khan, I would get help with, because you're not an experienced booker. I don't care what PWI or none of these, other sites, you Figure 4 Daily or none of that crap says that he's the booker of the year. No, he's not.
Nah.
Vince wasn't the booker of the year. I mean, really, they shouldn't even have that as a category, in my opinion. because you can book what you want. It's no different than being a coach.
Right.
I can call the plays. I can direct it all. It's on you guys to do it. So, I mean, they shouldn't have that category. But like I said, I think that Tony Khan needs more people that have better grasp of the business than he does. I get he's a fan. I get he's a mark, no pun intended. I get all that. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, like if I don't know how to run a Fortune 500 company, I'm gonna get somebody that does.
Get somebody that does.
If I don't know how, to build a battleship, I'm gonna get somebody that does. If I don't know how to put a roof on the house, even though I do, but if I didn't, I'm gonna get somebody that does. Yeah. Not do it on my own, and then when my ceiling's leaking, and you know what I mean?
Right.
Like
yeah.
you got to have that expert that knows better than you, because you don't know better. No different than Triple H for a longest. I think he thought in NXT he knew better.
Yeah.
And the NXT takeovers were gold. Don't get me wrong. Most of them takeovers were gold. But some
Triple
of them
H has really impressed me, buddy.
Oh yeah, but some of the week to week was hard to watch.
Yeah, right.
Even when they went to, and then when it went to 2.0, I'm sorry, I'm a WWE loyalist. I had to stop watching.
Yeah,
I don't watch
That's
NXT.
how my cousin was.
I don't watch NXT no more. I still record it, so if something newsworthy, same with AEW, I'll still record it on my DVR, or if something newsworthy happens.
Who's running that now, Marcus? Is it Bruce?
NXT?
Yeah, NXT.
From what I understand, it's Shawn Michaels. Shawn's running it right now with some other guys, but yeah, gotcha. I believe he's running it right now. And that's great. I have nothing against Shawn. I love him as a worker. He's great, one of the greatest of all time. So I would think his mind would be perfect for this. But he also is somebody that knows better.
Right.
As opposed to a Tony Khan. He's never been a wrestler. You know what I mean? He's not to say that you can't be a good booker just because you're not a wrestler.
Right.
But at the same time, if you've never done that job before, it's like no different than working on a car. If I've never done it, how am I going to do it?
That's true.
That's why we have mechanics, so they can. Yeah. I would think he just needs help, because not that I'm even an AEW fan per se, but I would love to see them push WWE, because the greatest. I mean, a lot of people can argue about the greatest era in wrestling, but for me, it was I grew up in it. You grew up in it. The Attitude Era.
Attitude Era.
I love the Golden Era back in the 80s. Yeah. Trust me, I love me some Paul Orndorff and stuff like that. Love them. Piper and whatnot. We talked about that earlier. Piper and stuff. Love them. Great.
Yeah.
But when you had 8 million people watching any given show between WCW or WWE or F back in those days,
right?
Like, it was because there was competition. Because it wasn't like WCW or NWA or whatever just came along yesterday. They've been around for years.
Oh, yeah.
They just got to that point, like we talked about earlier, where they just started, I don't want to even say stealing.
Yeah.
I mean, Macho Man wasn't getting used on Raw.
Right.
He was a commentator, and he was
put him on the shelf.
Yeah, Vince was basically just like, same thing with Hogan.
Yeah, I know.
You just kind of thought his run was over. If you want to stay and be a commentator, cool. But we'll give you work here and there, like we'll let you work against Crush or something.
Yeah, right.
But at the same time, it was like Macho was like, I still got more to give.
Yeah, one of his dream matches, as you recall, is him and Shawn.
Yeah,
he thought that would have been money.
Yeah,
there, him and Michaels, and it would have been.
Well, I've got an old VHS of I think it was a European tour where those two wrestled.
Okay,
gold match,
awesome.
And it's like, see, his point's been proven.
Yeah,
but I think Vince was of the same thing he did with Hogan, where you're getting a little older, long in the tooth type of deal. Right. We need to usher. That's when they were the new generation and all that crap. To where it was just like you're ushering out guys that are still established. Yeah, I'll still pop for Macho Man if he was coming out back in those eras. To where it's just like, I don't understand how you go from one of the biggest stars. I mean, I'll lay all my cards on the table. Macho Man is my favorite wrestler of all time. So it made me mad to see him go to the other side. There was my tribalism as a teenager. Yeah. Because it's like, wait a minute, what? Macho Man's on, huh? Yeah. And, it was what it was. I mean, a lot of people wanted to call it, low budget WWE because there was a lot of the older guys going over, but those older guys got the ratings. Yeah. Hogan, Savage,
they did.
Luger.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys that were there and went back over to WCW. I mean, a lot of those guys
Right.
And before you know it, it kind of swings the tide. And then I think, like we talked about, like I think NWO was also the death nail.
Yeah.
Because it just you got 30 guys in the group.
Yeah, right.
And it was just like, it's too much. I mean, you had the original, got you. Add a couple more, got you. When you've got it to where you've got it split to where you've got it just as many guys on the WCW side as you do the NWO side, now it's starting to get ridiculous.
And also, Marcus, you've got that going on the downfall for him, and then you got that Austin Rock coming up.
Yeah.
WCW never had a chance, did they, after that?
I mean, they lost the boat on Austin anyway.
Yeah.
When you've got Eric Bischoff telling you we can never make you anything wearing black tights and black boots.
We can't sell these black tights and black boots.
Even though he'd already been in WCW for years and been a United States champion, a television champion, a tag team champion with Pillman, it's like you've already done stuff with him, so you obviously see something in him.
Yeah.
I get belts or props, but you don't just put them on anybody.
Yeah.
You put them on guys you think that can carry it. You put them on guys that you think that can make you some money. Put some asses in seats.
Yeah.
That's
what JR used to say, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and that's what, at the end of the day, that's what it is. I mean, no company is going to survive. I wrestled on the Indies for 12 years, and I'm sorry. I wouldn't have been able to do that if there wasn't any fans there. Now, have I had shows where there were 30 people? Yeah. But I've also wrestled in front of 5,000 people.
Nice.
So at the same time, I know the give and take.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have fans, it's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
It's like having a movie, but there's nobody that's going to go see it. It's why we spending the time, the budget, the effort, and everything else to do this, if at the end of the day nobody's going to see it. And right now with AEW, I hope they can push the envelope and get. I mean, because after this all-out brawl-out deal, the first episode after that got a lot of eyes because they wanted to see where AEW was going after this, and now it's kind of died down a little bit because it seems like some of the plans that may have been in place with Punk or whatever, or now they put the belt back on Moxley. I think a lot of stuff has changed to where it's made it inconsistent because the plan they were maybe going to go with is not being gone with now.
Gotcha.
And that hurts them because it's obvious when you watch them sometimes that there's really no direction. I mean, I hate the AEW style personally just because I don't want to say it's a bunch of flips, but at the same time, I see guys that will do something to their knee or take a big move off the top.
No sell.
And 5 minutes later, not even that, I'm giving them a little too much credit. But a few minutes later, you're right back on offense. Like, I'm sorry, when I wrestled, there was a give and take.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, I mean, usually the heel would start the match, give some heat to the babyface. Babyface would come back, whatever. Or sometimes the babyface would shine up the heel, bust him up real quick, then you'd cut him down, and it'd be heat, give him some hope spots, try to come back, blah, 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 take it home.
Right.
Now it's, how many moves can we do in this match? We got 10 minutes.
Yeah.
How many moves can we do in this 10 minutes? And because I'm like, and I hate to keep talking about me wrestling, but I know when I wrestled, I would try to find out what guys are doing in the match.
Yeah.
Because if I know this guy's doing a superplex in match 6 and I'm match 2, why am I doing one?
Superplex.
Yeah.
Right.
No different than with table spots or anything else.
Yeah.
If you see a show where people go through 5 tables in that show, kind of loses its luster.
Yeah.
Because I really should only see it once. And it just, a lot of it's just, I don't want to say a fever dream, but that's kind of what it feels like. It's wrestling, don't get me wrong, but it's not the brand of wrestling I prefer. But then again, when you've watched the same products for as long as we have,
oh yeah,
when you see something that doesn't look the same, it doesn't look the same.
Yeah. I can't stand a false finish anymore. It's been overdone so much the last 20 some years. I mean, if you got a Brett and a Sean, okay, that's all right. But for it to be weekly, and I know they do this a lot. Well, on both products, this awesome finish where back in the day that would be it, kicking out, 1, 2, kick out. It's like how can you top that? And you can't.
Well, I'm from the era that when I wrestled, at least, that a finish was a finish.
Yeah.
If I hit you with, if you had that, on the indies, at least, if you had that one big show of the year, okay, I get it. That's our WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Okay. But you see guys on shows where there's 30 people, at least on the indies I'm talking about. You'll see where they're kicking out everything.
Right.
Or in AEW, it's just a regular 10-minute match.
Yep.
And we're getting super kicks and, Canadian destroyers and power bombs through tables, and guys are, it's just kicking like, out. Where's it in?
Yeah.
And then this was my biggest problem with Ring of Honor back in the day, was they do all that stuff and then in the match with a schoolboy or a small package.
Right.
Or a sunset flip. Like, I get it. I get what you're going for, the surprise win, but it's like, I just watched you do every move that there is.
Yeah.
And a schoolboy?
Yeah.
A small package? A Lamahe straw cradle? Like Oklahoma roll? That's what we're doing? Like, after I've done seen you pile drive this guy and power bomb this guy and do all the like most complex moves, Spanish flies off the top rope and stuff, and
absolutely
something simple to finish it. And I mean, I get it. The business has evolved since we were kids and even teenagers and even in our early 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
I get that. We're old now.
Yeah.
Like, we're old now. We're the old fuddy-duddy saying, get off my lawn. But for me, it's like, and I know, because I listen to Jim Cornette and
love him. I was just going to say, he would love you, Marcus.
I'm going to say this.
Damn, I like Marcus. He's a killer.
Well, goddamn. But no, for me, I get everything he's saying.
Yep.
I don't agree with everything he's saying.
Right.
I think some of it he is a little bit stuck in his ways.
Yeah.
Because there are some matches I like more than he does. And whatever. We all have our own taste. But at the same time, the principle and the blueprint for what he's going for, there has to be structure.
Yeah.
There has to be, this is how you build a match.
Yeah.
This is how you finish a match. This is how you structure a match. Not just, let's go out there and do every video game move we can do.
Yeah.
And then
nobody's selling nothing.
And try not to kill each other.
You're right.
And not to say that, injuries in wrestling are something new, but it seems like there's a lot more now.
A lot more.
Than there were back in the day. Like, you'd get a guy that would legitimately get injured, like blowing out his knee or something.
Yeah.
And it was just a freak accident. Now you got guys going, like Matt Hardy goes through a table and bounces his head off the floor. I mean, like, I wrestled plenty, and there's some injuries that can be prevented, and there's some that just happen. And I see a lot on both sides. Even WWE is getting a little bit more risky when some of the stuff they do, where it's just like, that could have been prevented.
Yep. I cringe, and maybe this is me getting older. I can't even stand Sheamus's heart punch anymore. That or the
the little 10 beats of the Bower he does,
right there on the chest, and the ladies doing this crazy. God bless the ladies, but it's like guys, it's not worth it. You know what I mean? We're not talking WrestleMania here.
Yeah.
You know, this is a Raw or SmackDown. It's like, please save your bodies, but. Some would say that's why they get paid the big bucks. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, like you look at any sport, football, basketball, it's all changed.
Right.
They protect the quarterback in football more than they ever did back in the day. In the NBA, fouls aren't what they used to be back in the day. I mean, I see guys
remember the Pistons and Bulls rivalry.
Like nowadays, I see guys basically travel.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It doesn't get called.
Yeah.
Baseball, same thing. A lot of the rules have changed, and everything evolves. I get that. There was dinosaurs walking the earth along. Like, I get that. Everything evolves.
Yeah.
Totally understand that. But at the same time, for me, it's like, it don't need to evolve that far.
That's right.
We still need the basic principles of what made wrestling wrestling.
Yeah.
And I mean, Vince kind of didn't help with the whole sports to entertain. Because I'm sorry, I wrestled for 12 years. Never once called myself a sports entertainer.
Right.
I'm a damn wrestler.
Yeah.
Always will be. I'll die tomorrow. Wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Have I done sports entertaining shit? Of course.
Yeah.
But did I ever consider myself a sport? No, please. I hate that term because it just watered down what they were doing when you still have wrestling in the name of your company.
Exactly.
And I mean, that's one thing I do like now with Vince being gone. I actually hear them say wrestler.
They'll say wrestler. Isn't it weird to watch now, Marcus, with even established guy under his rule for so long, a Michael Cole, and it's got to be hard for him to take the stuff he learned from JR and having to hear Vince in his earpiece. Mm-hmm. And it's like he's just on vacation now. He's got to feel good about it. Although I hate that Vince is gone from the main authority. I actually love it for his employees.
He needed to go, though. Let's be honest. He needed to go. But at the same time, I mean, could you imagine that, though? Like right now, how we're doing this podcast right now. Could you imagine us having an IFB in our ear right now and having Darius hollering at us while we're doing this podcast?
Yep. Darius saying, guys, 15 minutes, let's go, let's do it.
Yeah, or telling us what to say or whatever. Like, how could you concentrate?
Yeah, and JR had the hardest job. Later, go to Michael Cole. For any of them to used to have to listen to that all the time. Oh, I don't know how they do it, but that's why they're so awesome. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy, and I mean, it's a shame. Yeah, because I do respect Vince McMahon.
I do too.
But it's like, dude, when you've got a scandal that big,
he screwed up so bad, bro.
And I know a lot of people turned on the WWE because of that. And that goes back again to our topic of tribalism, where it's like, well, see, da-da-da-da-da. It's like, no, he's one man.
Yeah.
You can't fault the entire company for decisions him and others in that company higher up made.
Yeah.
It ain't like it's AJ Styles' fault.
Right.
It ain't like it's Nakamura's fault.
Yeah.
It ain't like it's Lashley's fault. Nobody told him to do this. Is stuff he did on his own, and it, unfortunately, but fortunately, came to light.
Yeah.
Will it tarnish his legacy? Probably, in a way, but it's Vince McMahon.
And Marcus, we started this talk out with how basically I had Vince's back, and I thought when he quit the company, I thought, my gosh, I'm not going to give Hunter a chance. I'm going to be honest with you. Apparently, I like WWE more than Vince McMahon because I haven't missed a beat.
I mean, like, when I heard Vince had quit,
it's sad, bro.
It was sad because
shocking.
As a person that grew up at the beginning,
he was our announcer.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. Like, he was our announcer as a kid, to where it's like, for the longest, because I'm just a kid, I didn't even know he owned the damn company.
I know.
You know what I mean? To where it's like, during the Attitude Era, and he becomes Mr. McMahon.
Yeah,
it's like, this guy that I've been watching since I was 5.
Right.
I had no clue. And, now we look at it, and I don't feel sorry for him, but at the same time, it's like, this was his baby. This was his love. I mean, there's so many different reports and shoot interviews I've seen where, like, they talked about how he had no social life.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It was workout, wrestling, barely sleep.
He hasn't been to the grocery store.
Repeat.
He hasn't been to the grocery store, I think Bruce Bridges said, since 83 or something?
He's a billionaire. Would you?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, honestly, would you?
That's a good point, but...
I hate going out in public, so I can only imagine if I had money to go get that for me.
But yeah, but he don't know anything, quote, hip. Now, he would watch some NFL, like the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
He'd do that, but like your big movies and stuff, he didn't know.
Oh, yeah, if you made a pop reference, like a recent pop reference, he wouldn't get it. I mean, I know when they tried to talk about Logan Paul, he was like, who's
Logan Paul?
Yeah, like who?
Yeah.
And it's like, I get it. Like, maybe you're not on the YouTube sphere like a lot of us are. But it's like, you're a promoter. You're supposed to know some of these guys.
Yeah.
Because these are guys you could possibly make money with if done the right way. Because I'm sorry, that Crown Jewel match, I have my own reservations about Logan Paul. But he did a damn good job.
Yes, he did.
Because I figured it'd be a good match, but I was blown away.
He did awesome.
Like the hat I'm wearing, mind blown. Blown.
Yeah,
blown.
He very impressive, and it's just outstanding. And
I mean, I still don't like some of his personal outlooks on life. And some of the anti-Semitic things he's said in the past. Yeah. But if I can just grade him solely as a performer, as a wrestler, for a guy that's only wrestled 3 times,
3 times now,
I know how bad I was after 3 matches. So you know what I mean? Like I have the utmost respect for him in that regard when it comes to him as a wrestler.
Yeah.
Person, not so much. Right. I still don't like him. Yeah. I mean, that's what killed me, that WWE tried to like shoehorn him as a face.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like,
go with the crowd. They're all booing him, Vince.
Yeah. Like it killed me. Like I loved it when they brought him in a couple years ago for the WrestleMania when Owen stunned him.
Yeah.
That because people loved it because nobody likes Logan Paul. Right. Now, I'm very intrigued though with the tribalism of Logan Paul and how polarizing he is. Man, after that match and that performance, I'm kind of intrigued whenever he does return from injury of how the fans receive him now.
Yeah.
Because if I've ever seen a star making match for one guy in one night,
good.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. And I mean, I'd love to see where he goes from here.
Right.
But it's my mindset is, how serious is he? Not to say that he's not, but how long term is he going to be?
Yeah.
Is he going to be one of these guys like Roman where he only comes in? Which I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
He's going to be a Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, overseas shows like they just did at Crown Jewel. Maybe if they go back over for Clash at the Castle, I can see him for the big stadium shows where there's 60, 70, 80,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever see him wrestling on a Raw.
No.
Just like Lesnar. I don't ever think he's ever going to wrestle on a Raw. So he's limited in that regard because he's going to have to cut a lot of promos.
Mm-hmm.
Or do a lot of other things angle-wise to get him where he needs to be because he's not actually performing week to week. Now, Roman can do that with the bloodline. But there's some guys that they need to actually get that repetition and the fans get familiar with him so they can, okay, he's not that bad. Because, I mean, I had my thoughts, and I know the Miz match at SummerSlam was good, and what they did at WrestleMania with the Mysterios was good. But at the same time, this match, night and day.
Right.
Blew any preconceived notion out the water. Well, Chris, I mean, I know we're about to wind it down here, but I mean, throughout the years, and I know I said my favorite wrestler was Macho Man back in the day, and we're going to kind of get a little bit off topic of the tribalism and just wrap this up. But who was your favorite wrestler growing up? Like, who was that one guy that when you were a kid, I got to see him?
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt, the Ultimate Warrior. And
as incoherent as some of his promos were?
Yeah. What Bobby say about him? He's got or Jesse, he's got $1 million body and a 10-cent brain.
Yep.
But it goes back to that music thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that theme. And, man, he was my favorite until the day I met Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
At the Brian Pillman Memorial.
Yeah.
And I was in line, and my buddy said, "Are you all right?" And I just started shaking, and I said, "I don't know what's going on." And I went up to Austin. I said, "Mr. Austin," I said, "Do you care if I put my arm around you in this photograph?" And he looked me up and down, and he said, "I don't give a damn what you do, son."
That sounds about right.
And right then, that was it.
Yeah, he was the guy.
He surpassed the Warrior then.
All right, got you. For me, for the longest, it was Macho Man. Then as I got older and he kind of slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to pick because I want to say Stone Cold too because, I mean, I've still got one of his little old school medallion things hanging from my mirror now to this day. But I don't know, maybe just for the color factor for me, I guess, just because I tried to look for guys that looked like me, I guess.
Sure.
I want to say The Rock.
Yeah.
Just because I remember how he started with the pineapple hair and they were just pushing him as the blue chip, white meat baby face. Come on, for real. And people, and they shoehorned him into the Intercontinental title kind of early to where I think that turned some people against him because it's like, we already know you're pushing heavily his lineage and he's the first, third generation and yada, 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 to where it didn't work. And then they brought him back and put him in the Nation.
Oh, man.
And, I mean, because when he was the babyface Rocky Maivia, he was the cookie cutter promo. I'm just happy to be here. And then when he came back and joined the Nation, he got to show personality. His charisma came out. Some of the early stuff that him and Rock did, like the Rudy Poo Bridge and just stuff like that. When the belt got thrown off the bridge, when he threw Austin off the bridge, some of the stuff they did was electric.
Right.
And then you go full circle to where both of them went from being mid-carders to main eventers. Oh, it's hard for me to pick between those two.
Yeah.
But early me, Macho Man all day, no question. Liked Brett.
Yep.
Liked a lot of other guys, obviously. But Macho Man was my dude. But then as I got into those teenage years and Austin's doing a lot of cussing and beer drinking and stunning Vince and hard to pick. It's hard to go against Austin. But then again, you had Rock. I mean, you had 1 and 1A.
Yeah.
I mean, you had one and, I mean, they were right on top of each other.
They
I mean, hell, The Rock's became the biggest movie star.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Right.
Like every movie he's in, whether it's good or bad, makes money.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he dumps on the movie Doom. I didn't think it was that bad.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's movies that weren't the greatest for him, but still made money.
Oh yeah.
And he's a blockbuster draw. I'm kind of intrigued to see what he does with this XFL since it's failed twice under Vince.
Yeah.
So that's a different topic. But I want to say Rock, just because I can identify with him a little bit more in that aspect. Because for the longest I thought Macho Man was black, just because of his coloring and whatnot. But I mean, that was what I looked for as a child. Just somebody I used to love Haku. Yeah. Just because a lot of friends back in the day used to say my dad kind of looked like him. So I mean, there was stuff like that for me as a kid. But I mean, it's got to be The Rock for me nowadays. Yeah. And modern. All right, modern day. Let's finish it up on this. Sure. Modern day. Who you got?
Sure. Modern day, you know, a little bit older now. You ain't got the childhood nostalgia. So
yeah.
Man, I know my mom's a big Drew fan. Drew McIntyre.
Love me some Drew.
She likes Bailey or Bailey. No, I'm the one that likes Bailey. She likes girl from Knoxville.
Bianca Belair.
Bianca. She likes Bianca. Try to think with my girlfriend there what she likes. She likes Little Drew action too.
What about you though? Right now, current day, if he's on the screen, you ain't flipping the channel because it's this guy or girl.
Hey, he's not very oozy.
Sammy?
It might have to be Sammy, bro.
Right now, I mean, yeah, he's definitely in the top 5.
He's adding.
That's for sure.
It's some good stuff. And then
the whole bloodline thing in general is good right now. But yeah, Sammy's the key of that, I think, right now.
Just great talent on the mic. Just funnier than hell. And with the ladies, gotta go with Bailey.
Got you.
I liked her better as a baby face, the hugger, for sure.
I like her heel change just because she needed that.
Yeah.
She needed that. And when you do a gimmick like that for so long, it does get stale. So I understand why they changed her. Now, for me, female-wise, right now, currently, I want to say Bianca, but I almost feel like they're shoehorning her at this point. Not to say that she shouldn't still be champion, but I'm starting to hear boos. Yeah, I'm noticing that on when I watch the show, that I'm starting to hear boos, especially like when I know I watched the press conference for the Crown Jewel show.
Crown Jewel.
And there was a lot of boos. And that I know that was different audience, different crowd. I get that. But even in America, I'm noticing that she's starting to get that, not Roman Reigns, John Cena-ish type of boo, but it's starting.
Right.
And that's worrisome to me. Because she is, I mean, not to say that she probably couldn't work heel, because she probably could. Because I've seen her in NXT do that. But she's so much better as a babyface.
Yeah, she is.
And I want to see that play out. Now, as a guy, for the guys, I like Drew. Definitely. Drew's one of my main guys because they keep booking him strong. They keep keeping him in decent programs where he's not just pushed down to the bottom of the card. But, God, there's a lot of...
Done.
I mean, I got Bobby. Done. I like Bobby. Done. Always have. But then again, at the same time, I want to say Seth.
Seth's good, bro.
Seth, I mean, I'm not with the laughing and him acting like the Joker or whatever he's got going on. I'm talking about his work.
He's good.
His work.
He stirred up some controversy years ago talking about how he's got it harder than like a Brett or Sean.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but Seth would have worked back in that Attitude Era.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, please. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's some of the crap that JBL's doing. No, you wouldn't have made it. Right. He would have been one of those guys that have made it in the Attitude Era, I think, Seth, definitely. Him, Drew, Roman, a lot of those guys would have definitely made it in the Attitude Era. Some of the guys they got now, maybe not, just because it was a different environment, different guys. And I think the work ethic was, I don't want to say stronger, but they took the business a little bit more seriously than they do right now. So, yeah, like I said, my pick's Seth and Bianca for the women. And, I mean, one last one, tag teams. Who's your favorite tag team in WWE right now? Or in general. Don't even have to be WWE, just favorite tag team.
Old school was Demolition.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Sure, probably knockoff of the Road Warriors.
Hey, Demolition was still good. I don't care.
Demolition was good.
Barry Darso was a beast.
But when I think of today, Marcus, I think of a certain thing. Let's see. If the folks out there are the twos, then that means that me, you, and the Usos are the ones.
Yeah.
The Usos.
Yeah.
Forget New Day, bro.
Oh, yeah.
It's Usos.
I like the New Day, but yeah, they're too clowny for me. And that's one of my things with wrestling is I like the guys that are serious, like an MJF, like we've already talked about previously. So, yeah, New Day's cool. They got their place. Love me some Big E. Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you just stole the Usos, now I got to think of a tag team because I don't want to be cookie cutter and say the same thing you say.
Viking Raiders, bro.
I like the Viking Raiders, but they got to do more. Current teams they've got on the roster that I actually would like to see them push would be the Alpha Academy. Because maybe not even the tag team. Gable. Push Gable. He's your modern day Kurt Angle. That's what I'm saying. But with the shushing and he's got the funny part, the sports entertainment part, and he can wrestle circles around anybody in that ring. Legitimately.
How long do you keep Otis heel? For years?
I mean, as long as I don't think they should break up the Alpha Academy. So if that's what we're talking about, then he shouldn't turn.
Yeah.
But if they end up breaking them up, then yeah, he should be face because he's comedic, and I get that. But I mean, they're starting to get deep in tag teams, so they may have to cut some fat here soon.
Yeah,
and get some guys that maybe don't necessarily need to be. Because I think a lot of these tag teams at first were just smashing guys. The same thing they're doing with the women's division,
right,
and the tag team division, where they're just smashing two women together or smashing groups of women together to where they're not genuine tag teams. Like right now, I know they've got Sonya Deville and. Oh, not Sonya Deville, excuse me, Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey. Yeah. And it looks like, I mean, I know Ronda's the champion right now, the SmackDown Women's Champion, but I can definitely see if she loses that title, them two being tag team champions soon.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a team I can believe is an actual team, is actual friends, not just, oh, Natalya, you're not doing nothing. Oh, Sonya Deville, you're not doing nothing. You're a tag team now.
Right.
I hate that dynamic when they just throw two random people that have nothing in common. Now all of a sudden we're friends, even though you've never had any interaction on camera ever. That's one of my biggest things right now in wrestling. There's no continuity.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to tell me a story, tell all of it, not give me the story halfway through or when it's almost over. Give me it from the beginning so I can understand it to where when you get to the end, it makes the ending much better. But like I said, I think we're going to end on that. This has been the Mark and Fan Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Magnum, along with my boy, Chris. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. See you next time for the next one.
Thank you.
This has been the Mark and the Fan Podcast with your hosts, Mark Magnum and the Cisco Kid. Find us on YouTube and Facebook. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends.